Hey, Cole.
Hello,
You're
Sam.
starting. You're starting.
I know, but I'm
Remember?
waiting for it to say on air.
Oh, it says it on me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm having a lag here then. Well, welcome into the Sam and Cole podcast. We're bi-coastal. Uh, the Sam and Cole podcast on the air, and boy, do we have some things to talk about, Sam. Brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters. As always, Joe Butler, the Butler family, has run Black Creek Outfitters for his great Jacksonville company, and perfect for those of you who spend any amount of time outside, whether it's barbecuing on the back porch or doing some serious outdoor stuff like canoeing, camping, kayaking, hiking, skiing, you name it. That's the place to go to get all the gear you need and some expertise. They have some got folks who really know their stuff there. They need some questions about how to strike out into the wilderness. They're the ones to talk with.
By the way, Cole. Of course, Joe is a big Florida Gator fan, and we will talk. We will talk college football probably a little bit later this week as well. But Florida has much higher expectations this year. Everybody's healthy. Some of the junior college transfers they've gotten, and some of the freshmen they're expecting to contribute right away. So with only 4 wins last year, there really is nowhere to go but up.
I was going to say higher expectations than last year.
Yeah.
That's bold.
Yeah. So we'll see. But we'll talk about them. And Florida State is virtually the consensus pick across the board to repeat as national champions. And we'll also talk about Georgia and Mark Richt and what they're doing when they're going with a I don't know if you can call him a new quarterback, but I mean it's not
new starter.
Murray.
Right, yeah. For the first time in 4 years, it's a different guy. And JU, by the way, starts in a little less than 2 weeks. They open against the number 3 ranked team in all of FCS, Southeastern Louisiana. So we'll see how that goes.
Which is not what Kerwin was looking for after last year didn't go the way that he had kind of expected.
And I talked to him actually yesterday, and won't spend too much time on it here now, but they'll know what they need to work on after that game for sure. That's one of the highest scoring teams in the country. Speaking of trying to be high scoring, the Jaguars are hoping to get to that point, and this Blake Bortles thing that a couple of weeks ago, say before the first preseason game, we talked about how what the fan reaction was likely to be after one game. Well, suddenly there's a little more to it, I think, because Gus Bradley said today, we're taking this on a Sunday, Gus Bradley said that tomorrow, Monday, Bortles will take some snaps with the first team, and that he will play one quarter with the ones on Friday in Detroit. He doesn't know if that'll be the second quarter or the third quarter. My suspicion is it'll be the third, by the way.
Right.
But what if, Sam, Blake Bortles comes out with the ones against the ones and just tears it up?
Well, then you actually have the beginnings of a quarterback controversy, and that, as coaches always say, I don't want to talk about hypotheticals, but then I do think you have something to talk about there, and I'll go in Gus's camp here with what he has said after every game, and that is that that Blake really hasn't been stressed very much in terms of seeing a blitz, kind of matchup coverages, the things that they've asked him to do. This maybe is the first week that he will see some of that. Traditionally, week 3 of the preseason is when starters play, and there's a lot. They're not going to show you the combination defenses that they're going to show you in week 1 or week 2, but you are going to be in more of a situation. And I think he making this announcement this early on Sunday when we're taping this, he's trying to stress Bortles a little bit to see how he reacts to, hey, I'm going to get a shot here. And I think he knows how he's going to react. And having spent some time with Bortles away from the field and away from the media, I don't know why he got on the bus. He got on the same bus that I was on, and he sat down right next to me. So we talked for a while, and just not even about.
Were you
football.
On the right bus?
I know I was on the right bus. I promise you, because as you well know, if you're not on the right bus, they make you get on some other bus. That's right. So I was on the right bus, and we'll see. I mean, I hope he plays really well, and I hope this is a problem the Jaguars have. But the only way that it blows into something crazy is if he does fantastic and Henne does not. And I don't anticipate Chad Henne playing poorly, tell you the truth.
Well, a week ago I would have agreed with you, Sam, but because we've seen now Blake Bortles twice with the lights on, and the performance he's had in 2 weeks, granted against vanilla defenses and not having to deal with a patchwork offensive line against a star defense like Henne has to some extent, because they've got to get that offensive line figured out. And I'm not all the way over to the, put him in there now, but I think that possibility has emerged. If you go back to the way that Bortles looked in the mini camps in the offseason, you saw a guy who had some tools, but he had a long way to go. It was very clear he had a long way to go. Then in training camp, we sort of saw some things. Okay, you know what? Looking better. Ball's coming out of his hand a little bit better. He's working on his footwork. He's going to the right places with it more often than not. And then when the lights went on, he took it to another level.
Right.
And Toby Gerhart, I talked to Toby Gerhart today. He said, the kid's obviously just a gamer. And you've been around guys like that who have been so practice players, but when the lights go on, they're there. They're ready to deliver. And, I mean, awesome to have that as your quarterback of the future, to be that kind of guy.
Well, and let me throw another X factor into this. The Jaguars offensively, it's not like, and I can go way back to the Sonny and Billy days in Washington, Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer, and you can look at what Jeff Hostetler and Phil Simms did together, and Earl Morrall and John Unitas did together, and Earl Morrall and Bob Greasy did together, Don Strock and Dan Marino did together. All of those kinds of things can work, but the Jaguars offensively are not made up of just 10 other veteran guys that you can kind of drop a rookie quarterback into. So there are at least a half dozen guys on offense who are fighting for jobs themselves and are looking to somebody like Chad Henne, who understands the offense, who's a veteran guy, who they can kind of lean on a little bit. As good as Blake has been in terms of the physical execution of the job, he's still not that guy that they can lean on because he's in the same boat that they are. He's still learning. He's still moving.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, but, Sam, every time Bortles makes a play and does something that makes you go, oh, in a game, in these preseason games,
right. Makes you go, oh.
Yeah. Well, his confidence rises, and the player's confidence in him rises.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just think that, this is a delicate balance, and this is why they're paying Gus Bradley, almost $3 million a year to make these kinds of decisions. Which player, and it really comes down to this, which player gives them the best chance to win, in the end.
Right. And so this is a question that I asked a couple of media members today out of practice. If I give you the Jaguars with Henne starting all 16 games, the Jaguars with Bortles starting all 16 games, what are the what's the difference in the record between those two guys? And most everybody I talked to, and I tend to agree with them right now, said record's probably the same. And if Gus Bradley believes that's the case, and as long as he's not concerned about throwing Bortles out there where he can't protect himself because of the offensive line, which doesn't seem to be an issue. Big, strong, moves well.
Right.
Why wouldn't you go with the rookie?
Yeah, well, I agree with that too. But I do think that I think there's a period of time here. And remember, we're still 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from the beginning of the regular season. So a lot of things can happen between now and then. And I do think that these are good, legitimate questions that we're asking as we move forward. And we all have agreed that 2015 is the year that they want to be competitive in the division, and the question is that how much does Bortles need to play this year in order to be the guy next year that can be effective in a playoff chase, for a team that really has expectations of itself to be a playoff team.
In other words, what does he have to do in order to be better than an average quarterback in November and December of next year?
I think he's got to play. He's got to play in 4 or 5 regular season games this year. If that's what they want. And here's the question. You get this question all the time. I get this question every day. People want me to give them a number as to how many games they're going to win.
Oh yeah. Well,
you get that every day.
That's how people categorize what their expectation should be. In terms of how good. If you say it's a 6-win team, somebody goes, that's not a very good year, but it's better than last year, so okay. If you say it's an 8-win team, they go, oh, okay, look at that, maybe make the playoffs then.
Right. That's funny because I always say it's in between that. I say they could win 7 games, and if they and the schedule maker did not do them any favors because that first 5 games is very difficult. It would be very difficult for anybody, any team. But I think that they can win 7 games, and if they win more than 7 games, then this program has been accelerated quicker than I think anybody in the league expected it to be.
Well, and it's going to accelerate based on the quarterback, don't you think? I mean, all the other things. I mean, the defense is improved, although they didn't get a lot of pressure against Chicago. Still played pretty well. Offensive line is not any better, and probably worse. So, by the way, Brad Meester was out of practice today.
Was he suited up?
He was not. He had the wife and all 6 girls with him.
Did he?
Wow. 260 pounds. He said he was down about 250 at one point, and then he, school. He's going to school to be a motorcycle mechanic, and
right.
So he
what
says.
What does Brad Meester look like at 260? I'm anxious to see those.
I walked up to Washley. For those of you who are listening to this before Sunday Sports Center night on Channel 4, we'll show a shot. I walked up and I go, you look like a skinnier version of a guy who used to play here. And, but he looks he looks good. I mean, right. He's now a little bit taller and a little bit wider, but he's about my size now. Yeah, which is good for Brad, probably not so good for me.
All right, let me throw this out there. As you know, my son lives in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So the numbers for the Jaguars early on right now, over under still 4.5 number of wins.
Dan, bet the over for me while you're out.
Take the over, okay?
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And by the way, they're the biggest underdog already on the board at week 1. They're plus 11 in week 1 against the Eagles.
Hmm. There's a lot of Philly money running around out there.
Right.
So that doesn't really surprise me, but that seems, again, not knowing who's going to be at quarterback. Again, we think it's Henne, but and not knowing Cecil Shorts or these other guys. And Cecil, by the way, back to practice today and is expecting to play against the Lions on Friday. That seems a little high, but not unreasonably high. I would have said 9, but.
Right. Well, remember, the Jaguars did lose their first 8 games last year in historic fashion, all by double digits.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. But the difference is, and I think, as you just mentioned, Philly money, this is not an indication of what the bookmakers think. This is an indication of where the money is going, right?
The age of public perception, of betting public perception.
Public perception. And nobody who follows the NFL knows anything about the Jaguars and what they've done on defense in the offseason.
Right.
And that's where the difference is. And that's why the smart money can make so much money in the NFL in the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell Cole, my son's name is Cole, for those of you who don't know.
Not named after me, but was named after.
After you.
I was named.
After you, yeah. I'm going to tell Cole to we're taking the Jaguars both ways there. We're taking the over at 4.5, and we're taking the Jaguars getting 11.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And where do they have where the have you seen prop bets for where to finish in the division?
No, but we can go look for that. We still have times. Yeah. We still have time.
I think they're going to finish second in the division.
They'll finish in front of Tennessee because we know they'll finish in front of Houston. They should anyway.
Yep.
Although Clowney looked pretty good in the game last night.
Yeah, Houston. I don't think Houston's going to score, which is something amazing to say when you have Arian Foster and Andre Johnson, and they've been such an offensive team lately. But
has Foster practiced at all? John McClain seems to think, who's the beat writer there, who's also on the Hall of Fame committee. I don't know that Foster has practiced at all because of, I don't know, hamstring or something.
Yeah, I haven't been following that closely enough, but I did see the highlights of Clowney, and nobody in the league will have better. He's like Randy Moss on defense. The highlights of him doing what he does are going to be more impressive than anybody else's highlights. The question is, I think think he's going to be a star, but the question is, can he do those things often enough to continue to make that difference? Because
from his position, it's important what he does on those other 50 plays that he plays, besides the 4 highlight plays that they show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so you mentioned Meester was there at practice. There's some interesting things going on with the center position I want to touch on real quickly. Number one, Brewster did not work with the first team today. It was McClendon with Linder at right guard with the first team.
At right guard. Mm-hmm.
And so, big question here is, if Brewster isn't the starter, does he make the team? Is he one of these rare cases where it's either starter or bust?
Yeah. No, I think he's too valuable at both guard positions and at center as a backup, even if he doesn't make it as a starter. He can play 3 different positions on the line. He's a smart guy.
Well, I don't think he can play right guard though. I don't think he's strong, and that's a power position.
That is the road grader spot.
Yeah.
But but the other guys that they have are so young. I mean, I don't know what what his injury status is.
He's got an ankle, and they're sort of
they really don't know. I can't think of, obviously they drafted Linder, but I don't know. I just think
McClendon's the other guy who doesn't.
And and McClendon. And Pastors obviously is out indefinitely with that broken hand.
Yeah.
They keep calling it a fracture, so they don't know exactly long. So they're going to play Cameron Bradfield at that right tackle position.
Who is more of a finesse tackle than a power tackle. So don't you need to have somebody who can play with power at that right guard spot next to him?
I agree. So look for the Jaguars to run left a lot behind Beatles and Jokel instead of trying to run right. Yeah. Good questions. Interesting. We will see Cecil Shorts this week. Allen Robinson still not a situation, right?
Yeah, right. We'll see Allen Robinson. We'll see Dakota Watson.
Dakota Watson, I think, is an important thing because that's the guy they envision in playing what they call the Leo position, which is a pass rusher who can drop into coverage. But Telvin Smith has played great. I mean, they've got some talent on defense, and they've certainly got some speed. And as I told you, I think the last time we talked, Senderic Marks told me that Red Bryant got hit by 3 guys and didn't feel any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's the case, other guys can make plays. I mean, and you're talking about. Look at what happened with Seattle last year, and you can talk about Russell Wilson all you want because that's what fans want to talk about. But that defense set up every single situation that Seattle had success in last year.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why I think you're right in saying that the Jaguars' progress appears to be ahead of where the national expectation, and frankly where my own personal expectation was 2-3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever, when training camp began. Anything else you want to touch on today before we wrap it up?
No, I think we're good. As I mentioned, we'll talk some college football. The game, by the way, this week, the Detroit game, is on Channel 4.
Yep.
I'll be doing the play-by-play, and Tony Baselli will be doing the color from Detroit as well. That'll be fun. And then the final game against Atlanta will also be on Channel 4 a week from Thursday. And Cole, eventually you'll have some announcements about your professional future. We'll be hearing more of you on some things eventually.
Hope so. I'd like to be heard more. That's always good.
All right.
So,
we always got a spot for you on Channel 4.
Always, and you'll have a spot for me tonight and Thursday and Friday. So I'm getting some getting some work. So, All right, that'll do it for the Sam and Cole podcast. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Sam Kavaris. Follow me on Twitter at Cole Pepper. And we'll tune into you. We hope you'll tune in to us next time as we get ready for the Jaguars and the Lions in the preseason right here on the Sam and Cole podcast.
Presented by Black Creek Outfitters. Stop by and see Joe Butler. Ask him something about the Gator football team, and you'll watch his eyes light up. That's for sure. And, with a lot of this travel that I've been doing, I've been wearing those Solomon XA Pros that I bought from them, those shoes. Really a good travel shoe. Comfortable, and you can kind of wear it almost. You can certainly wear them with jeans. You can wear them with shorts if you want. But you can almost wear them with khakis and so forth, and they don't look like you're wearing tennis shoes. It's kind of a neat shoe if you're looking for that. Stop by Black Creek Outfitters, the presenting sponsor of the Sam and Cole podcast.
All right, guys. See you next time.